Good afternoon. I am Judge Lena Barchkufta, Magistrate Judge for the Eastern District of California, Fresno Division, assigned to the Yosemite Courthouse. On behalf of the Federal Bar Association of the San Joaquin Chapter, I would like to welcome everyone to the 9th Annual Yosemite Law Day. Law Day is not just celebrated in Yosemite, but is celebrated throughout the United States. In 1961, Congress, by a joint resolution, designated the first day of May of each year as Law Day USA. This year marks Law Day's 60th anniversary. I'd love to give a shout out first to Ms. Carol Moses, former Yosemite National Park Ranger, current lawyer, and chairperson of Yosemite Law Day, for her tireless work year to year, and her spirit in ensuring that Law Day continued both last year and this year, despite this ongoing pandemic. Thank you, Carol, so much for your service. I see a number of people have joined us. Mariposa County District Attorney Walter Wall, Mariposa County Court Commissioner Philip Pimental, Madera County District Attorney Sally Moreno, FBA San Joaquin Valley Chapter President and U.S. Attorney Kirk Sharif, Heather Williams, Federal Public Defender for the Eastern District of California. I see retired Judge Michael Sang, who formerly presided over the Yosemite Courthouse here, that I now have the honor of being at. Magistrate Judges Peterson, Grosjean, McAuliffe, Boone, Judge Neiman. If I missed anyone, I certainly apologize. It's hard to keep track of everybody on the Zoom as people are passing by. While we normally would rise for our national anthem, we may be limited due to our particular circumstances in Zoom, so I would please ask that you show your respect while we listen to our national anthem. Thank you. I'm sure you'll all agree that was an awesome rendition of the Star Spangled Banner, and that was performed on our program Music Today, is performed by the 18 members of the Clovis West High School Jazz Band under the direction of Brian Chesney. And I hope next year to have them here live in Yosemite Valley to hear their music. Each year since 1961, the President has issued a proclamation that formally recognizes Law Day. President Kennedy, in his proclamation, stated that law is the strongest link between man and freedom. President Ronald Reagan pointed out that law and freedom must be indivisible partners. This year, President Joe Biden noted that our founding fathers desired to establish a government of laws and not of men, a country Thomas Paine distinguished that was unlike other nations where king is law. In America, the law is king. Our theme this year explores the interplay between taking an oath and the role of law. Our keynote speaker, David Alan Skolansky, a former United States attorney, is a Stanley Morrison Professor of Law and the faculty co-director at Stanford's Criminal Justice Center. Professor Skolansky grew up in Newport Beach, did his undergraduate studies at Berkeley, and graduated from Harvard Law School. Following law school, he clerked for D.C. Circuit Judge Abner Mikva and Supreme Court Justice Harry Blackmun. An accomplished author, an avid hiker, we are honored to have Professor Skolansky share his love of law and teaching with us today.
Good afternoon. I wish we were all gathered in Yosemite as opposed to looking at each other on computer screens. The best I can do to put us in the mood is to use this backdrop. This is a picture of Red Devil Lake, which is about 11 miles southeast from Curry Village as the crow flies, maybe a 2 or 3 day hike. It's in a gorgeous remote part of Yosemite National Park called the Clark Range. I had always wanted to go to the Clark Range and had never had an opportunity until last summer when I convinced my son to hike there with me, and we took this picture. Red Devil Lake and the Clark Range and Yosemite National Park are all kept beautiful and pristine by rangers and other employees of the National Park Service. And all of those employees start their jobs by taking an oath. They're required to take an oath at the beginning of their employment by federal law. The oath starts out, "I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic." Employees are allowed to change the oath to match their religious convictions. In particular, if they would rather say affirm instead of swear, they can do that. But they have to take the oath if they want to be a ranger or they want to work in some other capacity for the National Park Service. I had to take that same oath when I became a federal prosecutor a couple decades ago. And I took an oath that was very similar to that oath, another oath to protect the Constitution of the United States, when I became a lawyer in the state of California even earlier. All of these oaths are required by federal law. In fact, the US Constitution itself requires that every senator, every member of Congress, every member of state legislatures, and every state and federal judge, and every state and federal member of executive branch agencies has to take an oath to protect the Constitution of the United States. The wording of the oath that the President of the United States has to take is even given verbatim in the Constitution. The President has to say, "I do solemnly swear," or affirm, if he'd rather say affirm, or she'd rather say affirm, "that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States." This wording is so important that in 2009, when the Chief Justice of the United States was swearing in Barack Obama as President of the United States, and he misstated the oath slightly. He prompted Barack Obama to say execute faithfully instead of faithfully execute. The Chief Justice and the President got together the next day to redo the oath and make sure that the exact words provided in the Constitution were followed, because otherwise there'd be a question about whether Barack Obama was lawfully the President of the United States. The Constitution doesn't give the precise words that have to be used by other federal officers and other employees of state and federal governments when they start their jobs. But the Constitution does say that they all have to take an oath to support the US Constitution. So I want to talk about two things today, two odd things about this. One is what it is that everybody has to swear an oath to do. And the second is that they have to swear an oath at all. So let's start with what it is that they're required to swear an oath to do. Everyone who takes one of these legally prescribed oaths has to promise to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. That's what lawyers have to swear to do or affirm when they become lawyers. It's what I had to swear to do when I became a federal prosecutor. It's what the Constitution says that every federal officer has to do before he or she becomes a federal officer or a state officer. And it's what federal statutes require all civil servants in the United States, including park rangers and other employees of the National Park Service, to do when they start their jobs. So that's kind of interesting. We're not required to take an oath to protect the United States. We're not required to take an oath to protect the territory of the country. We're required to take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution, the laws of the country. Now, lots of other countries require their officials to take oaths to do other things. So, for example, if you're going to be a member of parliament in England, you have to swear that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth and to her heirs and successors. If you become a member, if you're elected to Parliament in Canada or Australia, you have to give pretty much that same oath, because Canada and Australia, although they're independent countries, are still part of the British Commonwealth. If you are elected to federal office in Germany, before you start your job, you have to take an oath. You have to swear that you will dedicate your efforts to the well-being of the German people, protect their welfare, and protect them from harm. If you are elected president of Russia, you have to take an oath before you start your job that you will protect the sovereignty and independence of Russia, the security and integrity of the state, and faithfully serve the Russian people. We don't require people here to do any of that. We don't require the president to take an oath to protect the well-being of the American people. We don't require federal officials like prosecutors or park rangers to swear to protect the sovereignty and independence of the United States. We require them to swear that they will support the Constitution. And what does the Constitution say? When you take an oath that you will, when you swear you're going to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, what are you swearing that you're going to protect and defend? You're swearing that you'll protect and defend guarantees of due process of law, guarantees of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of assembly. You are promising to protect people against unreasonable searches and seizures. You are swearing to protect the right to a jury trial, the right against compelling people to incriminate themselves, the right of people who are accused of crimes to confront the witnesses against them. You are swearing to uphold the right against cruel and unusual punishment. And you're swearing to uphold the right of every person in the United States to the equal protection of the laws. That's a nice thing about how our country works, I think, that we require people who are going to take these important roles not to swear an allegiance to the territory of the United States or even to the people of the United States, but to the laws, to the principles that we stand for. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. The fact that the content of the oath that everyone has to take, lawyers, prosecutors, presidents, senators, park rangers, the core promise they all make is to protect the Constitution of the United States. So now I want to talk about, why do we make people take an oath to do this anyway? I mean, the Constitution is a law, and it's implemented through statutes. Why don't we just have laws that require the president and park rangers and prosecutors to follow? I mean, we do have laws that tell them what to do. So what's the point of saying, well, not only do they need to follow those laws, they have to promise to follow those laws. So this is actually an issue I think about a lot, because one of the courses that I teach at Stanford Law School, that's my job now, I'm not a prosecutor anymore, now I'm a law professor. One of the courses I teach is a course about evidence law, which is the set of laws that govern how trials work in the United States. Here's an interesting thing about how trials work in the United States. Almost anyone can be a witness. We don't have restrictions on who's allowed to testify in court. But if you want to testify in court, you have to take an oath. You have to swear that you're going to tell the truth. And it's just like the oaths that I talked about before, that you can change the wording if you want to match your religious commitments, but you got to take the oath or make an affirmation that you're going to tell the truth. Now, why do we require witnesses to do that? Not all countries do. I mean, it's a crime to lie when you're testifying in court. And in some countries, they just say, look, if you're going to testify, the judge tells you, if you lie on the stand, it's a crime. We're going to prosecute you and send you to prison. So now testify. But we require that people, we not only make it a law, we not only make it a felony to lie on the stand, but we require people to promise that they're going to tell the truth on the stand. And why do we do that? It's because we think that if we make people promise something, they're more likely to do it. If we force them to commit themselves, they're more likely to follow the rules than if we just tell them what the rules are. And there's actually a lot of evidence that scientists have collected that that's true, that when people promise to do something, they don't always do it. People break their promises, but they're much more likely to do things if they promise to do it than if they're just told that they need to do it. So I'll give you an example. This is a study that was done earlier this year that I think is pretty cool. So, lots of people are recruited to do work over the internet and to participate in studies over the internet. So in this study, they recruited a bunch of people over the internet, and they said, what we want you to do is flip a coin a bunch of times and tell us how many times you had heads. And how much money we pay you for the experiment depends on how many heads, how many times the coin comes up heads. Each time the coin comes up heads, you get an extra $1 or something. So there's no way to know whether people are being honest when they report this, but you can know whether people in general are lying because you can see how many heads people are reporting. And if it's way more than half of the coin costs, something's going wrong. So it turns out there's a lot of lying. People report a lot more heads than there can really have happened. But if you ask people to promise to be honest when they report their coin flips, then the rate at which they lie goes way down. And that's a finding that the psychologists have found in lots of other settings too, that it really does matter. When people make a solemn commitment to do something, it doesn't guarantee that they'll do it, but it makes it a lot more likely. And that's true of the Constitution too. And it's important that we can rely on people who are saying that they're going to tell the truth in trials, because often we don't have any way of knowing for sure whether they're being honest other than their commitment to be honest. And the same thing is true about the Constitution. There are a lot of provisions in the Constitution that, you can tell if somebody's violating it. But there are a lot of provisions where it's a little harder to know. The provision, for example, that everybody be treated with the equal protection of the law, which means that government officials aren't allowed to discriminate against people based on race or religion or what country they come from, for example. So it's hard to know for sure when people are being discriminatory or not. So we really rely on the faithful efforts of people who work for the government, lawyers who take these oaths, and other people to do their best. We can enforce some of these rules, but there's a limit to that. Same is true, it's true about park rangers, it's true about defense attorneys, it's true about prosecutors, it's true about judges. We have a lot of rules that are designed to make trials fair, and enforcing those rules is important. But there's a limit to what we can do with enforcing the rules. If defense attorneys and prosecutors and judges aren't trying conscientiously to be as fair and as impartial as they can be, there's a real limit to how much good all the rules in the world can do to make sure that trials are fair. About 75 years ago, a famous United States judge named Learned Hand gave a speech in which he talked about the importance of individuals taking it on themselves to make the promises of the Constitution real. And what Learned Hand said was, liberty lies in the hearts of men and women. When it dies there, no constitution, no law, no court can ever do much to help it. While it lives there, no constitution, no law, no court needs to save it. And what did Learned Hand mean by liberty? The judge explained that the spirit of liberty is the spirit which is not too sure that it is right. The spirit of liberty is the spirit which seeks to understand the mind of other men and women. The spirit of liberty is the spirit which weighs their interest alongside its own without bias. I like that. To me, that seems to me the central idea of the rule of law, not just using laws to govern. Even the most oppressive countries in the world use laws to govern. What's important is that laws are used in a way designed to be fair, that laws are used as an instrument of impartiality, as a way to secure justice and humanity. We need that kind of spirit and we need that kind of dedication, not just among prosecutors and defense attorneys and judges, and not just among park rangers, but among everyone. So thank you for listening. One day when we're through this pandemic, if you can, pack a tent and a sleeping bag, put your food in a bear canister, and take a couple days to hike up into the Clark Range. And when you get to Red Devil Lake, think about the park rangers and the other employees of the National Park Service that work so hard to protect it and keep it pristine for all of us. And think about the oath that they take to support and defend the Constitution. And then think about what you can do in your life to support and defend the Constitution as well. Thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you, Professor Skolatsky, and we look forward to seeing you and hearing you hopefully live next year here in Yosemite Valley. At this time, I would like to recognize the schools that we have participating today, and maybe the students that are out there, if they're on their Zoom things, you can just wave your hands or whatever, so we can see you. Greeley Hill Elementary, El Portal Elementary, Lake Don Pedro Elementary, Mariposa Elementary, and Oak Creek Intermediate. Thank you for your participation. The Greek philosopher Pythagoras said that the beginning of every government starts with the education of our youth. And our three essay judges, Judge Barb McAuliffe, United States Magistrate Judge for the Eastern District of California in the Fresno Division, Attorney Douglas Gordon, civil litigator and member of Miles, Sears, and Ioani, and Karen Boone, Learning Director of the Clovis Unified School District, will attest that the future of our government is in great hands, as evidenced by the essays that they received. And now for our top three essay winners. Our third place winner and recipient of an iPod Touch. The readers felt this writer did an especially good job of locating the middle ground of the rule of law, that it both limits and protects people by restricting conduct by individuals against each other and by the government against individuals. This essay also gave a very good explanation of the significance of public oaths as, quote, a sign of leaders' commitment and undying devotion towards our freedom and the freedom of future generations, end quote, which, quote, unites our leaders under one unified purpose and duty, end quote. Hallie G. Nielsen, a student from Mr. Peterson's Oak Creek Intermediate class, aspires to become a ballet dancer at the Royal Opera House and seeks to spread the love of Jesus while encouraging others to pursue their own individual passions. Congratulations, Hallie Nielsen. Hallie, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure I'm supposed to do that.
Okay, congratulations. Your prize is on its way along with a certificate. Great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our second place winner and recipient of an Apple Watch 3, the readers felt this writer made graceful use of citations to Theodore Roosevelt and Dwight Eisenhower regarding the essence of the rule of law and applying equally to all persons. The essay spoke about the fundamental fairness that results from the rule of law and its role in ensuring freedom for the people. Our second place winner is Luke Walling, a student from Mrs. Wilkie's Lake Dawn Elementary class. He plans on pursuing a degree in mechanical engineering after high school and he enjoys hunting, fishing, and horsebacking to the high country. Can we find Mr. Luke Walling so everyone can see him?
I don't believe Mr. Walling is signed on.
Okay, well, congratulations, Luke. If any of his friends are there from his classroom, you can let him know. Thank you. Our first place in the recipient of an iPad 10.2 with iPencil, the readers felt this writer did an excellent job with the introduction of her essay, in which she brought the reader into a scene from the formation of the Constitution in that summer of 1787, with, quote, a handful of men crowded into a sweltering room debating the future of our nation, end quote. This essay elegantly explained the need for the rule of law, both to keep people in check, citing Hobbes' ideas of an inherently self-interested nature of humanity, and to keep the government in check by protecting the rights of people. Annie Bryant, a student from Miss Kramer's Mariposa Elementary School, is a prolific reader of Rick Riordan, one of my son's favorite books when he was younger. Her love of reading inspired her to actually write her own novel. And this fall, she completed an 87-mile walk in honor of the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and hopes one day to become a scientist. Congratulations, Annie. Annie, can you unmute yourself?
Thank you.
And Annie, we would love for you to share your essay with us today.
Which is right here. Okay.
Mom is keeping a secret, I guess, huh?
Yes. Can you hear?
We can hear, thanks.
It's the summer of 1787, hot and humid, and air conditioning won't be invented for another 115 years. Yet there's a handful of men crowded into a sweltering room debating the future of our nation. They had only gathered to rewrite the Articles of Confederation, America's first plan for government, but the articles were not sufficient for the United States. We needed something stronger, a document that could withstand the test of time, and all the trials and tribulations that America faced. Together, they built the Constitution, one of the most important documents in the history of the world. In that room, the rule of law for the United States was carefully crafted, preparing America for success. The rule of law is an important piece in the puzzle keeping our country together. Without it, there would be chaos. We need laws not only to protect us from other citizens, but to keep us free from oppressive governments and tyrannical rulers. America was founded on the idea of freedom and equality, and the reason we're still functioning today is because of the laws we created to fit those ideals. During the Age of Enlightenment, Thomas Hobbes, a philosopher, explained that people are naturally evil and selfish, so they need a strong government to control them. The laws the government creates are not just there to keep people in check. Laws are fundamental in a working society. They protect the rights of the people, keeping us free. Some may say that laws are there to repress us, and we need more freedom to be successful. I disagree. Laws are there to keep us free, not to take away our freedom. It's true that if the rule of law didn't exist, we'd have nothing to hold us back. Is that really a good thing? Would it be nice if thieves and murderers had nothing to hold them accountable for their actions? Freedom is very important. You have to remember that order is important too. When a government official is elected to a position of power, it is crucial that they swear an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. Why? Well, as you know, the Constitution is the United States plan for government. It was the first of its kind, and many other countries followed our example after we created it. This shows just how powerful it is. Even the Constitution itself mentions that it is the supreme law of the land in Article VI. If the leader of our nation decided to betray the Constitution, they'd be betraying the ideals of our nation. It's everyone's job to uphold the plans outlined in the Constitution. People don't seem to realize how fragile our government is. At any time, the people could just decide to stop following the laws that we have created. And guess what would happen then? Chaos. It's so important that our leaders swear to abide by the objectives of the Constitution, because the Constitution is the glue that holds our country together. We need our officials to protect and defend it, because otherwise, our government could collapse. You may be wondering how swearing an oath connects to the rule of law and freedom, but they have more in common than you might think. After all, the Constitution was written to secure our freedom and lay out a plan for the government. So swearing to protect and defend it is the same as swearing to protect and defend the foundation of the rule of law for our country. In the end, the rule of law is holding our nation together. America was founded because our ancestors thought that the rule of England was unfair and tyrannical. They wanted safety and freedom, the very things that the rule of law protects. By upholding the laws of our country, as well as supporting and defending the Constitution, the citizens of the United States are protecting the ideas that our nation was built on.
Thank you, Annie. Very well thought out and very well delivered. Congratulations. All of our prizes to the 3 students were donated by the Federal Bar Association and are being sent out tonight at the latest. So they should be arriving soon. So thank you to all of the students. And to all of the students that are listening here today, I ask that you keep your mind strong by discussing ideas instead of discussing people or things. Think about the ideas that form our nation and have good-hearted discussions with your friends about what those ideas really mean. It's how you keep your mind strong. You will shape and direct our nation's future. Youth is the backbone of any nation, and so we're depending on you to continue to keep ours moving in the right direction. I want to thank all the judges and representatives from the AUSA's office, the Federal Defender's Office, the National Parks, the students who participated, the schools' principals for permitting their schools to participate in the events, and the teachers who, again, are at the heart of teaching our young students' minds. And the Federal Bar Association at the San Joaquin chapter for doing such an awesome job and making sure that this particular program continues and them reaching out to the students at our local schools. Finally, before closing, I need to give a special thank you to Daniel Spore-Grimes, the court's program administration. He's our technological wizard, so to speak, who made this Zoom event possible. And my courtroom deputy and right hand, Christy Dunbar-Kari, who I would not be able to get through many days without. So I want to extend my appreciation to her as well. I wish everyone a great weekend. I'm encouraging everyone now to please mark your calendars for May 6, 2022. We anticipate being back here in full force in Yosemite for our 10th anniversary. And we have some big plans to really expand the events next year. So please know to put that in your calendar or your outlook for next year. And when you're in Yosemite and enjoying the spectacular part of our country, please know that you always have an open invitation to stop by the court and pop in and say hello, because it is your courthouse. So please feel free anytime to stop in. Thank you again for spending your afternoon with us in celebrating Law Day.